In this video, I will discuss about the software models. So what is software process? Software process is nothing but a set of steps along with some constraints to produce the required software. Products are nothing but the outcome of the process. So engineering process is considered as a process. The requirements are taken from customers. A new product is the outcome of the software process. A software process will involve, the first one is nothing but the specification. So specification will define what the system should do, and designing part will define what are the different parts of the systems. The implementation is done by using some programming languages such as C, Java or .NET. So validation is nothing but checking what customers wants. So evolution is the changing the system in response to the changing customer needs. So let us discuss about the software process model. So what are the different type of methods that are used? The first one is nothing but the waterfall model. The second one is the prototype. Third is evolutionary. Fourth is the incremental as well as iterative. Fifth one is nothing but the spiral. So let us try to understand what is a waterfall model. So waterfall model consists of the different set of phases. The first phase is requirement phase. The second is the designing phase. Third is the implementation. Fourth is the iteration phase. The fifth one is nothing but the maintenance phase. So what happens in case of waterfall model? We cannot go for the next phase unless and until the particular phase is completed. So therefore waterfall model is very simple to understand and it cannot be changed. Once the phase is completed, we cannot come back and we cannot change. So that is the disadvantages of the waterfall model. So advantages. So what is first advantage is natural approach for the problem solving. Very simple to explain to the customers. Works well with the minimal or no changes in the requirements. So what are about disadvantages? So disadvantage of waterfall model is nothing but the requirement can be specified and frozen earlier. There is no iteration in the waterfall model. We cannot come back again and we cannot change. So that is the one of the disadvantages of the waterfall model. What about the main drawback here? We cannot change after the process is underway. So this phase has to be completed before going to the next phase. So let us try to understand prototyping. So prototyping addresses the requirement specification limitation of the waterfall. Instead of freezing the requirements only by discussion, a prototype is built to understand the requirements. So helps to migrate the risk. So what happens here? The first we are building the prototype and we are trying to test for the requirements. We go for designing, coding and test, and this is shown to the customers. Once the customer is okay with the things, then we'll go for actual designing and coding and testing. So this first part is just a prototype which will tell the customer, which is used to explain to the customer about the model, and if it is customer is satisfied, then only go for designing, coding as well as the testing part. So what is the advantages here? Requirements will be more stable. The disadvantages is the increasing the cost as well as the schedule of the project. What happens in case of evolutionary? We are going to add some functionality, we will develop the core functionality, then we are going to show to the customers, and after that we are again going to add the functionality and the new release is released. So this is nothing but the evolutionary type. So what are the advantages here? So helps in finding exact user requirements. Once the core models are tested properly, user gets a chance to experiment with a partially developed system. So these are the advantages of the evolutionary model. The incremental and iterative. What about incremental development? So incremental development starts with a small functional subsystem and we are going to add the functionality with each new release. So iterative development starts with the full system, then change the functionality of each subsystem with each new release. So incremental is nothing but we are developing each small subsystem. In case of iterative, what happens is we develop the whole system. So that is the difference between the incremental as well as the iterative approach. So here you can see the difference between the incremental as well as the iterative. Incremental is nothing but the small subsystem is developed and we are going on adding the subsystems. So this is nothing but the incremental development. Iterative, what happens? The whole subsystem is developed and then we are going to iterate that. So that is called as the iterative development. So this is the difference between the incremental as well as iterative approach. The last one is the spiral model, which was founded in 1988. So what happens in case of spiral model is we combine the development activity with the risk management. So development activities along with the risk management to minimize and control the risk. So model is represented as a spiral in which each major iteration is represented by a circuit around 4 major activities. So what are those activities? The first one is the planning, the second is determining the goals, the third one is evaluating the risk, and fourth is a development and test. So you can see that the first quadrant is like determining the goals. The second one is the risk analysis. We are doing risk analysis in the second quadrant. The third quadrant is like planning, and we are having different set of plans. Each group is represent different phases here.